For some of you, in daily life, if your mind has these kind of qualities, and I'm going to share with you the qualities. If your mind already has these kind of qualities, then you'll find that going to jhana is easy. But if your mind have different types of qualities, then you'll find that going to jhana is very difficult. Okay? So I'm going to share with you what are the qualities. And they're not the same. Buddha will talk about them. It all depends on whom he was talking to, the audience. You look at the audience and he knows roughly what's wrong or right with the audience, right? He would explain them the suttas or the lessons packed to their level of understanding. So therefore, when you go through the suttas, you'll find that sometimes so much, sometimes so little. Why? Does that mean there's no SOP? Don't have SOP one. It's packed to the individual. Too bad we are not in the time of the Buddha for him to do a personalized diagnosis. So if we get a personalized diagnosis, right, maybe you have the encyclopedia, or maybe you sukilat, give you 2 lines. Realize. 2 lines. Okay? It all depends on the individual. Okay, in the Vatupama Sutta, this is a very important point. And I'm using the analogy. You know how beautiful his analogy is, right? Now you're all in love with Buddha's analogy. It's brilliant. This is what he said. Suppose a cloth were defiled and stained. A dyer dip it in some dye or other, whether it's blue, yellow, red, I don't even know what's common. It would look poorly dyed and impure. Why? Because of the impurity of the cloth. He used that cloth, purity or not, to represent the mind of the practitioner, the ones who want to go into jhana. If the mind start off impure, then you try to dye it, it wouldn't work. Very difficult to realize jhana. So what are the imperfections that defile the mind? Covetousness and unrighteous greed, number 3, is an imperfection. Ill will, anger, resentment, contempt, insolence, envy, avarice, deceit, fraud, obstinacy, rivalry, conceit, arrogance, vanity, etc., negligence, a whole bunch of them, is an imperfection that defiles the mind. So, in other words, all these that he listed are the conditions that cause the mind not to be able to go into jhana. So if on a daily basis, right, you find that your mind is always petty, always looking for something, being very talkative, being very restless, always one, 很小人啊. I just use the word 小人. Okay, sum up everything already, right? I don't have to use so many words. I use so many English words. I call you 小人. Yes, I understand what it means. So if the mind of the individual is that of a 小人, forget about trying to see jhana. It's going to be very difficult. Because in itself, the mind's not pure. If the mind's not pure, how to get into a pure state? In other words. Okay? So you understand this part. And note now, he keep repeating all this: contempt, insolence, conceit, arrogance. You know why? Because these minds are hard. Remember I said about the mind being hard and being soft. A mind that can go into jhana to some extent will require it to be soft. If it's too hard, how to live? Macam heavyweight trying to live like that. It has to be soft, and then it will float. So that's why when you're angry, if you look at your mind when you're angry, your mind is very hard. If you are greedy, the mind is restless. It's just like that lah. I want. This is very restless, like that, okay? Then when it's very angry, right? 你讲什么我都不听. This is very hard, like a porcupine, very hard. Okay? So you gotta understand all this state of mind. This is in the mind. It's a state of mind. Okay. Knowing that covetousness, unrighteous greed is an imperfection that defiles the mind, a bhikkhu abandons it. Knowing that ill will, etc., etc. So all the conditions that make your mind small, narrow, hard, tight, 不服天下, any of those type of condition that causes the mind to be like this, you got to let it go. The word here is abandon it, let it go. Don't hold on to them. So you got to recognize the kind of condition that's in your mind. If you can do that, okay, and you have abandoned that, you acquire unwavering confidence in the Buddha thus. Now I'm going to explain to you this. 一个小人 doesn't really embrace Buddha. His confidence in Buddha is in a transactional sense. Buddha do this for me, I will respect Buddha. Buddha doesn't do this for me, tomorrow I don't pray. It's a transactional relationship. Today I don't clean your flower. Whereas if you are a practitioner, your mind is light. Your faith rests on your understanding of Dhamma. Okay? Then 你不是小人了. You may be short, but you're not 小人. Connie, I know, Connie. Okay. Iron, 对 iron. 不是小人，是矮而已. And therefore, the word here is unwavering confidence in the Buddha. Note, don't look at the words as it is, because this is your iti piso bhagawa arahan sama sambuddho vichacharara sampano. So you say, oh, no big deal, skip. No, look at the words. What does it say? The words basically tell you that this person, when he looks at the Buddha, he looks at the Buddha as a teacher. He remembers the Buddha to be a practitioner who walked the talk, who understood what he was teaching because he realized it for himself. So he knew what he was teaching. He wasn't teaching 6 nonsense. He was teaching something that worked for him. And out of kindness and compassion for the world, he hung around to help the next person. So the kind of confidence that you have, right, is that this is my teacher, he knows what he's doing. I am eternally grateful that he got it right and he taught this. So that's not same, it is not empty words. It is emotional words. And this kind of emotion moves people, it keeps your mind light, you see. Okay, think about it, you get happy. When you think of the Buddha, you get happy. You think of Buddha and nice statue. You're not deriving the correct joy from being his disciple because you don't know what he stood for. If you know him, you know what he stood for, it means you have already touched Dhamma. You have already tasted Dhamma. You can only have a relationship with Buddha if you had already tasted Dhamma. In a very simple way. In a very, very simple way. It might just be that when you were crying, when you were in despair, a word from the sutta, a word from the Dhamma lifted your spirit. In that one moment of connection, this is when a relationship is forged. So your faith is then unwavering. So the same thing, Dhamma. Look at the Dhamma words. The Dhamma words means you have actually experienced something from it. Because it says here, visible here and now, immediately effective. It's an experience that leads onto another experience, into another experience. It's experiential. All this I've gone through in the first lecture, first or second lecture, but now I'm just repeating it, okay? So the Buddha What he stood for was Dhamma. The Dhamma, you have already tasted something. It's not Nibbana, but what you have tasted already told you you're on the right track. And so this is what you want to continue practicing and learning. Sangha, you look at the way he talks about Sangha, he didn't say men in robe. He said, Sangha of the Blessed Ones are the disciple practicing the good way, practicing the straight way, practicing the true way, practicing the proper way. So Sangha are the practitioner. And the practitioners are the ones that are worth emulating and respecting and so on and so forth. But the main thing is, the emphasis right at the start is about practicing the Dhamma. And the way here, by the way, the word way here is the path. Okay? Okay, now, once this is how you understood all this, look at what he says. When he has given up, 8, when he has given up, expelled, released, abandoned, relinquished the imperfections in mind, in the mind, he considered thus, I am possessed of unwavering confidence in the Buddha. He gains inspiration in the meaning and gains inspiration in the Dhamma, gains gladness connected with the Dhamma. Because he understood, he is inspired. If he had not understood, where lies his inspiration? He knows and he thinks. The guy is a thinking man. He is not a blind follower. I know that I don't have all these nonsense in my mind. I am a practitioner. I have faith in the Buddha. I'm a practitioner because I have faith in what he's teaching. I have faith in what he's teaching because at some point I tasted something of what he had taught. And then now I can see for myself that there are people who are practicing it and seem to be getting it right, doing it right. I am all the more inspired to do it. So all these are all connected. Okay? He knows, because he knows he has saddha, faith. Then you look at 11. Okay? Knows that he has purity, and then he gains the joy. He knows, consider thus, they have given up all these things. He gains inspiration and the meaning, gains inspiration and Dhamma, gains gladness connected to Dhamma. When he is glad, piti is born in him. In one who has piti, the body becomes passaddhi, that's tranquil, passaddhi. One whose body is tranquil feels pleasure. In one, sukha. In one who feels pleasure, the mind becomes concentrated. So, to recap, in the same way the Buddha kept saying, you must have sila, right? So, the earlier part when I had all these words about the nastiness in the mind, means the fellow got no sila. This one lucky more fierce because it's a bhikkhu here, it's a practitioner here. For lay people, five precepts. For practitioner, your mind better be clean. Make sure there's not even an iota of pettiness, rudeness, unkindness, arrogance, nothing negative at all. When you have nothing negative, then you come and talk. That's what it means. That's the level of practice that we're talking about. So we all grumble that cannot go into jhana, why so difficult, cannot go into jhana. Because our mind a bit cranky lah. Most time our mind a bit messier. Hard to keep it pure the whole day, right? Hard, a bit difficult. So a bit difficult means a bit difficult to get into jhana. Whereas the cleaner your mind, the cleaner, the purer it is, the faster you go into jhana. You understand that? And so you have your sila, you have your faith, right? You have your sila, you have your faith. With sila and faith, you know that you have both. So what do you have? You have joy. Because you have joy, your mind feels calm. you have pleasure, the mind can concentrate. That's how you go into jhana. Okay? But in this particular case, I'm going to share with you another object of meditation. Buddha used this to teach them how to do Brahma Vihara. Brahma Vihara. Metta, loving kindness, Karuna, compassion, Mudita, what did he use? No, actually it's empathetic joy, but he used another word.
Altruistic joy.
Is it?
Number 14 to 16, imbued with altruistic joy.
Aha, okay, correct, you're right. Altruistic joy. And then, which is quite a nice word. I shall use this word next time. Altruistic joy. Huh? Altruistic joy is a nice word. We all use altruistic joy, okay?
Not aesthetic joy.
No aesthetic. Not aesthetic joy. And the last one is equanimity. Right? So it's interesting that this is yet another example of how you're supposed to do metta. I kept saying that metta is not may I be well and happy. That metta, the mind has to be prepared. Then it is ready to do real metta. Then the metta can flow. So here the Buddha is another example of Buddha saying the mind has to be prepared. You have to drop all those negativities, no negativities, let go of every negativities, have this strong faith, strong saddha. Then the mind is ready. So it gets joyous, it gets happy, then it gets giving. Okay, so this is very straightforward. In order that you are able to do your jhana, you must be able to clean shop, clean house. Next one. Okay, skip everything else. Next one. Book of 6. The one that says 72, strength, first jhana. Again, I only need the first stanza, okay? Bhikkhu, possessing 6 qualities, a bhikkhu is incapable of attaining strength in concentration. What 6? 1. Not skill in the attainment of concentration, not skill in the duration of concentration, not skill in the emergence from concentration, does not practice carefully, does not practice persistently, does not do what is suitable. Explain. You say, this is like a, what's that word that they call? Roundabout logic. In order to be able to do jhana, you must be skilled in doing jhana. You see, I'm saying that it sounds like a roundabout logic. No, actually, earlier on, I took you through the 4 levels, yes? I showed you the analogy. I told you what are the factors that must be present. I told you what are the things to look out for, and then you go in. If you are familiar with the SOP, what was taught earlier, that is the SOP. If you're familiar with the SOP, and you're very familiar with SOP, you become skilled. Skill at knowing the way in. Okay? And if you are, so the first rule is that how well did you learn the steps? If you have learned the steps well, and you managed to go in, did you then pay attention to how the mind goes in? So some people, they can sit, then because that day is a good day, it's a good day, never scold people, not too clinging, the mind very free, very loving, happy mind, can sit, then went in. It can happen, okay? Went in, doesn't stay very long, but went in. That's not skill. You may have gone in, but you're not skilled. So the next time I can't go in again. Tomorrow, let's try again. Yesterday I had such a wonderful time. I don't know where I went, but I had such a wonderful time. Today, let's try. And then it didn't work. And then it didn't work. And then it didn't work. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Then Thursday still didn't work. Friday, 走了. That's called not skill. You went in, but you are not skilled. Whereas skill is Monday, you went in and you knew Slowly, you take it slowly, step by step by step, and you, okay. Then, so that's a skill in going in, okay? You must learn the mind. You really, really got to pay attention to the mind as you go into jhana. Then here, he says, can you hold it? Do you know how to hold it? So how do you hold it? Back to the SOP. What did he say? How do you hold it? The second one is to hold it by concentration. The first one is to get in by letting go. First one, get in by letting go. Second one, hold it by concentration. Third one is that wonderful state. You stay still. Observe it. Stay still. Don't do anything very hard. It should not be too difficult. So it's the first one that you got to be able to do it well. The rest is actually not so difficult. So know the SOP, know it well, you will be able to get in. Once you get in, you now got to still learn the SOP to stay in. And after that, you have to make the determination and come out. Know the way in, know the way out. A lot of us, I also speak from experience, a lot of us, when we did it, we don't know the way in, we also don't know the way out. Usually kena bump out. And over time, as you start to understand a little bit more, you realize that, no lah, cannot do like that, must do properly. So the ones who go for formal training, right, formal meditation retreat, and you got a very good teacher to guide you step by step, then very good lah. So you are doing it step by step, okay? Personally, I use the suttas. I go strictly, I've got no teachers. I go strictly by the suttas. So I use the suttas to go in. I use the suttas to stay in. And usually, I'm quite happy to come out lah. So the way to do it is learn the SOP, learn it well, know the analogies, because it's very easy to remember. And then, because in there, in your meditation, all you remember is the analogy. You don't remember anything else, okay? Sometimes. And once you start to do it again and again and again, it becomes a habit. And once it becomes a habit, you're skilled, okay? Now, so that's our first 3 steps. Practice carefully. SOP, 3 alphabet only. You really got to learn the procedure carefully, the steps carefully. So you practice carefully. Know it well, understand the suttas well. In other words, practice persistently. Don't give up. If you fall asleep Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, who knows, maybe Thursday you'll be awake. Asleep, never mind, it's Friday. You have the rest of the 365 days. So the persistent in it is to say that I fall, I'll try again. I fall, I'll try again. And I will not give up. Doing what is suitable is the part where I kept saying it is important to keep the mental space clean. If your mental space is not clean, meaning you have a lot of negativities, a lot of, look, the whole day your mind keep doing this, that. At night you want to sit easier. That's the habit. The habit is to do this, that, and other. Run all over the place. That's not doing something suitable. Doing something suitable is, in daily life, you're actually quite aware when there's the arising of negativities, and you try not to have them too much. Just let them be, let them go. And then when you are feeling good, feeling nice, feeling kind, you also want to proliferate that. Why? Because when you proliferate that, the mind is light. The mind is happy. Remember, the happy mind is a concentrated mind. That's how it is, no? Whereas the angry mind is a very hard mind. It cannot concentrate. Okay? So that's under strength. You look at the first jhana, same thing. Without having abandoning 6 things, one is incapable of entering and dwelling in the first jhana. What 6? Sensual desire. Again, it's never about sense basis, it's about desire. Okay, sensual desire, meaning desire for sense basis delight.
What's the difference between craving?
Craving is when you want it. Delighting is when you enjoy it. Enjoyment leads to craving.
So
They are not the same. You can taste something and say, very nice, but you need not crave for it. I want it again and again. But the chances are, you taste something and say, very nice. Chances are, I want it again and again and again. So they're actually two different things. But because they come together so fast, you don't see them as separate.
So this one is not about craving.
This one is about sense desire. It's only desire. I want to indulge. I want to enjoy. I want to enjoy. It can be a mild form of craving. Mild. Okay? 就是说你不是太饿了，不过有一点点啊。一点点，一点点。Okay, sense desire, ill will. It doesn't say anger. It says ill will. What's the difference?
It compass more small things, right? I mean, compass more things, right?
Yes, it is.
Anger, everything all.
Yes, it is. Ill will encompasses more things, but more importantly, ill will is very subtle. Ill will is a negative feeling. So one sensual desire is a positive feeling. Ill will is a negative feeling. So your positive feeling, not craving. Craving becomes very negative already. Desire is shook only. That's all it is,
How
shook.
about the craving or the desire for the next thought?
Desire for the next thought is a desire. But that was not sense basis lah. That was mental desire. Desire is desire. Okay, desire, the nature of desire is desire. Desire is not a good mental state to be in the mind when you want to meditate. If let's say you sit, example, you sit and you say, I hope in my meditation today I get jhana. Finish, that's it, over. Might as well go home and sleep. Because the desire to get jhana is a desire. Your mind will get restless really.
I find it's easy to let go of the sense desire, but very difficult to let go of the mental desire.
Ayala, very good. Desire is desire. It has to be let go of. But don't worry. Maybe at the end of it got dimana. Right? So right now we are only at part 1 of the talk. Got part 2 and part 3. Alright? So at the part 1 of the talk, we are only learning to identify the factors. So this one is sense desire. There's ill will. As I said, very subtle. One is very subtle, pleasant. You want it. One is very subtle, negative. You don't want it. It's both wanting. Okay? Dullness and drowsiness, sometimes it's sloth and torpor, it's tina midda. Basically, tina midda basically means low energy, heavy energy. So when you feel very tired, don't feel like doing anything, that's heavy energy. Sluggish energy. I suddenly feel my body so heavy, I can't pull myself up. Maybe I do my meditation in bed. It's not jhana, it's sayorana. Okay? The next one, restlessness and it's actually restlessness and worry, remorse. But the idea here is energy that spins very fast. So the third one is energy that's very heavy, it drags. This one is mental energy that spins very fast, it cannot settle. So whether you worry, or you're restless, or you have remorse, it doesn't matter. The point is your mind just spins. That's the state. As I said, only in the Singapore audience when I say they know what I mean. I must learn to speak English. The last one is, the word here used is doubt. The word is vichikicha. Basically what it means is, I prefer to use the word perplex. Okay? Perplex. Because doubt, people will say, I don't have doubt in the Buddha. I have absolute faith in the Buddha, but I'm not realized. You're not realized because the mind doesn't understand. When the mind doesn't understand, it has a state called perplexity. What does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean by watch what? What does it mean? That's perplex, okay? That's Vichikicha. And the last one, so there are 5 of them, the usual nivaranas, the 5 of them. The last one says, one has not clearly seen with correct wisdom as it really is the danger in sensual pleasure. What one has not clearly seen with correct wisdom as it really is the danger in sensual pleasure. Understand this, Buddha was talking to bhikkhus, monks. Monks, if you think about it, if you're a monk, you're supposed to let go, right? Sometimes, or even lay person, you're a lay practitioner. Let's talk about lay practitioner. You're a lay practitioner, you know that the practice is about letting go. Don't hold on to things. Don't indulge too much. Don't spend your time enjoying. Okay, learn to let go. So you practice. Learn to let go. Then sometimes you say, never mind. I may be diabetic, but never mind, eat a bit. Can't kill. Can't kill. Eat some more. Huh? So, my fault. I call it the scenic route. Okay? This is the scenic route. But it means that we don't have the wisdom to realize that even when you indulge even a little bit, you are like an alcoholic, you know. It's like Alcoholic Anonymous. They don't drink even 1 drop because 1 drop can lead them to backslide. So the same thing. We are practicing to let go. We're practicing not to indulge. We're practicing balance, right? But what do? Well, occasionally, panchan a bit, eat char kway teow. Panchan a bit, right? You just give yourself a bit of leeway. That one indulgence can lead you to backslide. The mind learns he has been trying to get rid of bad habit, but you haven't been very successful. You went back to bad habit. So what does the mind do? Shiok only, let's start again. So, and why do we do that? Because we don't realize how, even when you give it half a chance, it can lead you to backslide by so much. You don't realize it. We don't have the wisdom to realize it. So the Buddha talking to the bhikkhus is very strict. No means no. Practice means practice. See it to the end means see it to the end. Very tough, okay? And so basically what it means is to apply in our own time, right? In our own lay practice, I would put it this way. If you can see for yourself why you want to practice, then you need to build it into your own life sometime in a day for you to set aside to practice. And don't give yourself excuses to say, it's okay, today no need. I've done Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So Saturday holiday lah. National holiday, no need. We don't do things like that lah. Because we realize the danger that when you one day panchan, don't do on Saturday, Sunday also you want off day. The old habit will come back. Old habit of no practice will come back. Okay? See the danger of that. And the same thing, the last one says, this one is strictly about loba dosa moha. Okay? Sensual thought, the thought of ill will, the thought of harming, sensual perception, the perception of ill will, the perception of harming. Very straightforward. So basically, you want to do jhana, you want to be able to get into jhana, your mental space, your mind space, the mind has to be clean. On a daily basis, in your, say you practice at night. A lot of us sit, I don't know, some in the day, some in the night, but in the run-up to your sitting, your mind must be pure. as much as possible, it's about giving, it's about loving, it's about kindliness, so that the mind is happy and light. If the mind is happy and light, when the mind sits, it's okay. If the mind is not happy, not light, it's angry, it's agitated, it's got a lot of things to do. I haven't done this, I haven't done this, I haven't done this, I haven't done this. I haven't done this. You want to sit? Your mind's going to do checklist lor. So your jhana is about this 5 checklists. You go round and round and spin around that. Okay? So let's learn to let go. Okay. Last, no, not last yet. Book of 7. For the book of 7, I only need the first stanza. For today's talk, I only need the first stanza. And in the first stanza, look at what it says. There are, bhikkhus, these 7 accessories of concentration. What 7? Right. Samaditi, Samasankapa, Samavacha, Samakamanta, Sama Ajiva, Sama Vayama. Vayama is right effort. Samasati, Sama Samādhi. The last one, right concentration, Sama Samādhi. So your 7-fold path must be walked in order that the 8th one can be successful. Okay? So what are the 7-fold path? It's actually repeat broadcast. Earlier on, remember the Buddha talks about if you have faith, saddha, and you have some sila, virya sila same. When you have these things, concentration is possible. You go back to this one. How do you build faith? When you have the right understanding and right thought. So you have wisdom. And then if you have all those right speech, right action, right livelihood, your precept, your sila intact. Samavayama means making the right effort to erase the negativities, to promote the positivities. Can you see the repeat broadcast? The same thing, again and again. All these things have to be done in order that there is concentration. So when I said again and again in all kinds of talks, I kept saying Buddha's teaching is very consistent. You go all over seeking the suttas and Dhamma. You will pull. They seem to sound different, but if you push it down to the next level, they are the same. It's the same. So in effect, he's still saying you got to build saddha, faith, true wisdom, and basic understanding. Basic understanding first. You have basic understanding, that will give you the motivation to practice, to observe your precepts, to do the right thing, to keep your minds clean. When you keep your mind clean, you constantly keep doing that, you will have joy in your heart, you have the pleasure, you have the sense of delight, the sense of peace. All these things, it is possible for you to sit and concentrate. Why do you want to sit and concentrate? So that it goes back to number 1, so that I can have the correct seeing, the correct understanding, the real seeing of the mind as it is. Cycle. And because I start to see the mind as it is, I begin to realize Buddha's correct. My faith deepens. When my faith deepens, the joy increases. It's now exploding all over the place. It's now a nuclear bomb. Proliferate. Then the joy, the practice, the wisdom, the joy, the practice, the wisdom, it spins and it spins and it spins. Every time you see one new concept, it increases your faith. With every increase of faith, there is the motivation to practice. With the motivation to practice, you practice. Don't motivation to practice say, akan datang tomorrow. Motivation to practice, sit, observe, see more, and it goes on. Okay? Now, in the book of 7, there is a lovely sutta right inside, buried in one of the pages. Today, if we have time, we're going to it. If not, the next time, in part 2, bring this one back. In part 2, I will talk about it in detail. 49.6. 49.6 perceptions. Page. It's the third page. Sorry. First page, the first paper, second paper. The second paper at the back. Under perceptions 2, there are 7 perceptions when developed, cultivated, are of great fruit, da 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 da. It goes on. That one is actually relevant to segment 2 of DBB. Okay? This is segment 1. So far we're still at segment 1. If we've got time, we go through it. No time, then might move on. Okay. Book of 3, a goldsmith. This one I will not go into the analogy, but the analogy is beautiful, okay? But since you guys are now so much in love with analogy, you'll read by yourself. I will only read you the part that is relevant to the practice. It's the first 2 stanzas. The Buddha said, that, okay, basically there are 3 things you've got to balance. The balance between concentration, exertion, equanimity. Okay? There are, from time to time, you've got to give attention to 3 marks, 3 things. From time to time, you should give attention to the mark of concentration. From time to time, to the mark of exertion. From time to time, to the mark of equanimity. If a bhikkhu devoted to the higher mind, meaning you're practicing for realization, attends exclusively to the mark of concentration, that means you do only concentration, it is possible the mind will veer towards, the word is sleepiness. When you concentrate too hard, you fall asleep. Okay? When you concentrate too hard, you fall asleep. Which is the reason why many people, when they sit, they don't get beyond first level. I told you already, second level onwards, very easy, you stay awake, clear. First level is the one, you try so hard, you try so hard, try so hard, try so hard, and you fall asleep. Okay? Then here it says, if he attends exclusively to the mark of exertion, his mind will veer towards restlessness. This one is exert energy, exert effort, right? Exert effort, then the mind gets restless. Okay? When you try too hard, you see, when you concentrate very well, your concentration is damn solid, you'll fall asleep. Then, okay, cannot concentrate. Must try to stay awake, try to stay awake. Alamak, the mind becomes very restless. Okay? It's tricky.
Concentration without exertion, you fall asleep.
The balance is required. It's a balance. Which is why sometimes when you say, I really want to see the jhana, tonight I will endeavor to stay awake. I really, really want to see the jhana. I try to see the jhana. See nothing, am I very restless? No, am I very restless? You try, Lord, you try, am I very restless? Because you want, the mind is very restless. Okay? You attend exclusively to the mark of equanimity. This is when you concentrate and you say, don't get attached. Concentrate, don't get attached. Then you also don't really care whether you destroy the taints or not. Because you're so detached, you don't really bother. Everything you don't really bother. So here it says, if you attend exclusively to the mark of equanimity, it's possible the mind will not be properly concentrated for the destruction of the taints. The letting go where the mind turns can't be done properly. Because therefore mind, let go, detach, I'm detached. The thing doesn't know how to flip, doesn't know how to turn. Okay?
The tree can be considered mindful, too mindful.
It's very tough. So this stanza, I pull out this stanza to also let you know that you got to be mindful. Bring it to your attention. I'm just bringing it to your attention so that in your practice, right, if you notice that your mind is very restless, you should wonder whether or not you have been trying too hard. I have no problem with explaining that when your concentration is too strong, you'll fall asleep, because a lot of you suffer from that anyway. Some of you may, because you're so good at staying awake, right, the mind becomes restless. Okay, that's the balance lah. You're so good at staying awake, the mind becomes restless, or you concentrate so well, you sleep. So it's, I don't know, it's somewhere here you want. Have you all felt it before? Huh? Don't be shy, I know a lot of you meditate. Have you all felt it before? Falling asleep, I suspect a lot of you have that problem. Staying awake, but then becomes a bit too restless. A bit too restless, this is how you know. When you are too restless, the meditation bo song one. When you fall asleep, meditation quite song. Too song, okay? When you fall asleep, the meditation is too song. It's when you come out, then bo song. Right? But you, alamak, sleep again. So nice. Alamak, sleep again. So therefore, it is too song, so you fall asleep. Then you wake up, bo song, because you're not happy about it. Whereas the other one is you try, so you stay awake, but you will not enjoy it. Restless mind is not a happy mind. So you try so hard, a lot of energy, but I cannot go into jhana. Also very fed up, also bosong. But this one is very potent because this one are really very restless and the mind becomes very agitated.
You have to walking meditation.
Walking meditation. Sitting one is a bit off, right? You may want to just do the walking, mindful walking. Yen Yen wants me to tell you that even when you're walking, you can go into jhana, okay? It's true. She has actually come across a sutta to prove it. So it's basically, but it's not the deep jhana you fall asleep on. It is the jhana where your mind is very clear. The mind can also be very clear, okay?
So even arupa.
But when a bhikkhu devoted to the higher mind from time to time gives attention to concentration, from time to time to the mark of exertion, from time to time the mark of equanimity, the mind becomes, this is what you want, malleable, wieldy, luminous, pliant, properly concentrated. Malleable, you can shape it. The mind is soft. In other words, the mind is soft and it is accommodating. It's soft. Actually, the mind is soft. When it get it right? The mind is very happy, It's very pleasant. It's very soft. It's very bright. It's very clear. And it's very open. The idea here is very open-minded. It's very open-minded. So that it can see, it can spot, it can understand, it can learn. Okay? These are the qualities of the mind that you want to get into. The analogy is the goldsmith. I ain't goldsmith. So basically, this is how you manage gold. What I like about this analogy is that, in ancient India as it is today, gold is a very precious commodity. Because it's a very precious commodity, people treat it with great care. Hence, goldsmith. Okay? The second point is, it is a very soft metal. The scientists here will be able to testify to how soft it is. And to make it, it can be molded into shapes that you want, like a mind, you see. It can be molded, but you treat it wrong and it can look really ugly. Yes? It's the same thing. So, Buddha used the specific analogy so that the people who are listening can immediately identify, the mind, very precious, can be molded, can be doing this and that, but you've got to take great care in handling it, otherwise it will be a mess. Okay? The last bit, now, if you recall, in the early lecture, the very first lecture when I talk about the Dhamma roadmap, right? I talk about how the Buddha's teaching was intended to achieve three things, okay? It is to explain to one how to prepare the mind. There's only one state of mind. It's a particular type of mind, or rather the mind in a particular state that is able to see Dhamma. So large part of his teaching, of his suttas, were devoted to trying to guide people, guide practitioner to achieving that state of mind. Then once it arrives at a particular state of mind, it has to then be able to see the nature of itself, right? Prepare the state of mind. Once the mind is of a certain state, take this mind to look at the nature of itself. When it can see for itself its true nature, then the mind must, at this point, is it ready to let go? Is it able to let be? Does it know enough, realize enough not to cling by itself? That's the third part. If it knows how to by itself let go, by itself, not will, cannot be will. You will it, it's still will. By itself, it knows how to switch off. Then you game. Game over. Ta-na-na-na-na-na. Okay? That's 1, 2, and 3. You look at this sutta. In brief, I call it the enlightenment process in a nutshell. And it's so nutshell. Only 2 pages. What a beautiful nutshell. Then a certain bhikkhu approached the Blessed One, paid homage to him, sat down to one side, and say, Bhante, it would be good if the Blessed One would teach me the Dhamma in brief, so that having heard the Dhamma, I might dwell alone, withdrawn, heedful, ardent, and resolute. Forget about all those things, and then the Buddha started explaining. Bhikkhu, you should train yourself thus. Okay, a few steps down, just before number 1. My mind will be firm and well settled internally. A reason bad unwholesome states will not obsess my mind. You should train yourself thus. When bhikkhu, your mind is firm and well settled internally, and a reason bad unwholesome states do not obsess your mind, then you should train yourself thus. I will develop and cultivate the liberation of the mind by loving kindness. Make it a vehicle and basis, meaning foundation. Carry it out, consolidate, properly undertake it. You should train yourself thus. So the first 2 here, preparing the mind to be pure. The first one, keep your mind space clean. Unwholesome states, make sure it doesn't come up. The second one, keep it happy, because he's teaching this guy loving kindness. Keep it happy. First, keep it pure so that happiness, joy, delight, giving, letting go instincts can come up. Loving kindness is like that. The loving kindness state is delight, joy, giving, let go. Okay, this is the state of loving kindness. So that's the second one. Keep it pure, it will be happy. When this concentration has been developed and cultivated by you, you should develop this concentration with thought and examination, meaning vitaka vichara. This is, they keep using different words, but the word here is vitaka vichara. Okay, you should develop it with rapture, piti, and so on and so forth. So the next step is, now that it's pure, now that it is happy, use it to develop jhana. Okay, so now it's developing jhana. You flip it to the next page, number 5. Number 5. When this concentration has been developed and well developed by you, you should train yourself thus. I will dwell, contemplating the body in the body, ardent, clearly comprehending, mindful, having removed longing and dejection in the world. So use the concentration to contemplate, see the 4 foundations of mindfulness. See, contemplate the 4 foundations of mindfulness. Seeing the body in the body. It goes on, seeing the body in the body. Okay? 6 to 8. You see 6 to 8? Dwell, contemplating feelings in feelings. Mind in mind. Dhamma in Dhamma. So, I recap. You have keeping the mind, mental space clean. develop joy, use it to develop your concentration. Building on your concentration, use it to see the nature of the mind as it is. This foundation is not building mindfulness. It is not teaching you to build mindfulness. That one is a practice. This one is use this concentrated mind to look at the nature of the mind as it is. Look at your form. Look at your posture. Can you see things arise and fall away? When all these things has been done, if you get it right, when bhikkhu, this concentration has been developed and well developed by you in this way, then the second last stanza, then wherever you walk, you will walk at ease. Wherever you stand, you will stand at ease. Wherever you sit, you will sit at ease. Wherever you lie down, you will lie down at ease. Having received such an exhortation from the Blessed One, the bhikkhu rose, paid homage, went off to practice. Then, dwelling alone, withdrawn, heedful, ardent and resolute, in no time, the bhikkhu realized for himself, with direct knowledge in this life, that unsurpassed, I don't know what consummation of the spiritual life, this is a translation problem, for the sake of which cleansement, okay, you look at the last bit, it says he directly knew, destroyed his birth, the spiritual life has been lived, what had to be done has been done, no coming back to any state of being. So, because he prepared all the mental states as he has to, then he used that mental state to go and look at the nature of his mind as they are. When he starts to look at the nature now with all this mental state that he's trying to prepare, practice and practice and practice, use it to look at the mental states as they are, he finally understood. So the mind at the end let go. That's Dhamma. So that's Dhamma in a nutshell. And the very last one, on Ananda. What is liberation? Okay. Only the second sender I kept. Could he? Here Ananda, a bhikkhu, thinks thus. This is peaceful, this is sublime, that is the stealing of all activities, the relinquishing of all acquisitions, the destructions of craving, dispassion, cessation, nibbana. In this way, Ananda, a bhikkhu, could obtain such a state of concentration that he would have no eye-making, mind-making, and underlying tendency to conceit in regard to this conscious body. He would have no eye-making, mind-making, underlying tendency to conceit in regard to all external objects. And he would enter and dwell in that liberation of mind, liberation by wisdom, through which there is no more eye-making, mind-making, and underlying tendency to conceit for one who enters and dwells in it. Understand? Now you all understand. So, to sum up, the mind gets to a certain state when it realizes and it ends its game. It has no more clinging to I, mine, and the underlying tendency to call everything I and mine. That tendency. It's got no more that with regards to itself and with regards to the external objects. The mind gets to a state where it instinctively, when you look at itself, no I, no mine. When you look outside, no I, no mine. So I kept saying that in this practice, at the end of the game, you let go of the craving and you let go of the clinging to the I. The clinging to the I, this clinging to the I is a very powerful clinging. At the end of the game, right, the clinging switch off basically what this stanza tells you is clinging as an instinct switch off. It switches off. Your mind has instincts. One of the very powerful instincts that keep you alive and going is clinging. As an instinct, it's just there. It's built into your DNA. So imagine trying to work against instinct. It's very tough. You got to work against the instinct without creating the new instinct of wanting to work against it. Okay? This is an instinct. It is an instinct to want. You need to stop this instinct. But you cannot stop it by saying, I don't want. Because when you say, I don't want, lagi more want. I want and I want not. Okay? So, in order that you can stop this instinct, the mind has to get into a state where it is neutral. It's okay. It stays neutral. It stays neutral. You look at the way it's written, stealing of all activities, no arising. The thing slows down and stops. These activities is all those craving activities. It's all this craving little activities. The relinquishing of all acquisitions. The instinct to want, you let it go. The mind lets it go, not you. The mind lets it go. The craving doesn't rise anymore. There is this passion you don't hold. You're just, it's okay, it's there. You don't want or not want. This passion is want, no, don't want. It's bochap. But bochap is a bad word lah. It's not the bad bochap, it's the good brother, the good bochap. It's okay lah, it's okay. It's okay, it's okay. Think of it this way, the kid run, play, right? You are very indulgent. It's okay lah, it's okay. It's okay, you don't knock, you don't, oh, never mind, it's okay. Knock, so never mind, tomorrow I buy new one. So it's the bochap, it's a let go, okay? So dispassion, from dispassion, cessation. Nibbana. Nibbana is the last one. Now, in this way, your mind is like that. And he would then have no more I-making, mind-making, underlying tendency to conceit in regard to the conscious body. Inside, you don't cling inside. You don't cling to this form. You don't cling to the external world. So, at the end of this game, there is no more wanting. The mind switches off from the craving. It switches off. And it switches off, one of the things that it will switch off is, does not see this as a soul, an essence. Because as long as the mind sees this as essence, the mind can't switch off. So you understand why the Buddha kept saying anatta, anatta. You have to accept anatta. If you don't accept anatta, no nibbana. Because if you can't let go of the I is a very powerful clinging. If you can't see that the I is process, condition-based, not a soul. If you can't see that, right? You absolutely can't see that in your meditation. You can't see that daily life. You refuse to let it go. Then the clinging is very instinctive. You can't let go. Nibbana is not possible. But the moment you start to realize that this I is mind-made, must realize, not see, not think. I know my mind, I am mind-made. Not like that. You really realized it. You see it. And accept it. Once you accept it as mind-made, right, then the instinct to let go already start. This 路程已经走了一半. You understand? That's why the Sotapanna has only 7 lives left, because one of the things that go is the notion that there is a soul. And when they say that, no soul, no essence, right? The clinging drop the ipan. There's only 7 lives left. If they cannot drop the I, the essence of that I, the clinging to the I, if they cannot drop this clinging, because they can't see it, or even if they can objectively understand it, but they can't feel it, then that clinging is very strong. It will start again. Okay? So the 2 clingings that must go is clinging for your sensual delight, the taints, kama asavas, sensual, all the pleasures, bhava asavas, being is the I, bhava asavas, these 2 must go. Then one thing that feeds the bhava asavas is ditthi, views. A lot of us, our sense of the I is enhanced by our views. Our views make us special. I'm a Buddhist, special. You understand that? Views, very dangerous. And the last one is ignorance. Ignorance. Sometimes it is very difficult to let go of something precious to us. And that in itself, this thought in itself is ignorant. The mind has a tendency to, this is very tricky. Tricky because on the one hand, you want it to be open-minded. The mind has to be open-minded. Soft ma, can see. But on the other, it cannot go all over the place. Ignorance in itself is very tricky because on the one hand, you must be able to see, cannot thought construct, must be able to see, must be able to accept, must be able to let go, must be able to learn from the process. It's a whole bunch of things wrapped up there. I'll give you an example. I'm famous for saying that once you start to see things, then you must learn to take things easy. You know, don't work so hard. Have a bit of a balance. Don't try so hard. I always get scolded by Yan Yan. Yan Yan would say that, no, you must try your best, see all the way. She has wisdom. I have ignorance. Because if you don't have ignorance, if you have wisdom, then what you would have is you push for the final goal. You just go for the final goal. You just go for it. Because you realize that any form of holding on, any form of craving is dukkha. You know that. Then how come you don't want to let it go completely? The fact that you can't let it go completely tells you have ignorance. But I don't want to let it go completely, lor, because there's clinging, ma. So the ignorance is still there. You see what I'm saying? The ignorance it spins around and around. But then if yours is the other extreme, okay, if yours is the other extreme, you say, must go for the end, must go for the end. Can you see that in itself is craving?
Yes.
And then can you let that go? Cannot let that go, right? It's also ignorance, lor.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? The difficulty of this whole concept of ignorance. There has to be a wisdom to know how to strike the balance. And you constantly strike a balance. But at the same time, if you hold on to the view of constantly strike the balance, that in itself can lead to ignorance. So it's very tricky. And until you realize completely, right, this ignorance is a haunting presence. It's kind of, okay. It's tricky. And every time you learn more, you grow wiser, you understand a bit more. Every time that happens, right, that ignorance is reduced.
Mindfulness of Dhamma. Mindfulness of Dhamma.
Correct. But as you understand Dhamma more and more, think of ignorance like that, lah. Every time you get it right, you do something right, you realize why is it like that, you realize how you understood, you realize how you grew, your ignorance reduces. So it goes a bit more, and a bit more, and a bit more. But you can also string backward. It will go a bit more. So you need to maintain. So I kept saying, you have to maintain open-mindedness. But cannot be too open-minded, because if too open-minded, you also spin the other way around. So you must know when to pull back, you must know when to go forward, you must know when to learn, you must know when to let go. It's tricky. It's very tricky. Okay? So now you understand why it's so difficult to explain this difficult word. Okay? Any question?
Question on this in brief.
Yep.
There's this part on the liberation of the mind by loving kindness. If we say liberation of mind by loving kindness, liberation by wisdom, meaning loving kindness only can go liberate the mind, but not penetrate until to the wisdom part.
No. This liberation is not.
It's just jhana.
It's just letting go. All this is a step to the end. He hasn't come anywhere near the end.
And all is
Meaning to say, this one means this. Typically, your mind, you hold it very tight. But when there is loving kindness, you are letting it go. That's the liberation. This is not the realization. Yeah.
Then the next part is you develop the rapture, and also you develop it without rapture. But this what does it mean? And it's clear too.
You can do it in you can no. You can do it in your deep meditation, or you can do it outside of deep meditation. This is all concentration can happen when you're in deep meditation, or concentration can happen when you're not in deep meditation. Your mind, this is developing concentration. The mind in deep meditation will have all your jhanic factors. Outside of deep meditation, you can still have a concentrated mind, but the jhanic factors are not there. So for instance, when you're doing your work, right? When you're doing your work and you're very focused, got jhana or not? Don't have what? You very happy, man? Not really. But you're very concentrated. Your mind is very focused. Can happen. So you can have a situation where your mind is very, very concentrated in meditation or outside of meditation. In jhana or outside of jhana. But nevertheless, you must know. You must be aware. He is teaching, or he was teaching, Buddha was teaching the monks to be very aware of the mind as it is. So when a factor is there, or when the factor is not there, he knows. When the mental factor is there, or when the mental factor is not there, the person is clear enough to know. And the mind, when you cultivate it, actually it's like that. The more you walk, the more you practice, the more you're aware of what's there and what's not there. And there's clarity. You not only experience it, you must know it. Many of us, many of us get caught up in daily activities. So when you eat, you just eat. But you understand me when I say that when you eat, maintain a certain distance, know that there is eating. You understand what I'm saying, right? Know when you're eating. Exactly. No, not so attached. All right? Know that you're eating. This is an activity. It's easy. Now, can you see your mind? Know when your mind is of a certain mental state. That's harder. Because usually we get caught up in the mental state. But if you're so clear with your mindfulness and you're very clear with your concentration, if these two are very strong, you are aware when you are having a mental state. And you are aware when the mental state is not there. You know what's there, you know when it's not there. Let me explain. Suppose I say, usually, normally, when an incident happens, you get angry. If you're very well practiced for the day, you notice that, interestingly, when this incident happened, my mind was not angry. There's no arising of anger. So know when it is there, know when it is not there. Why do you need to have this kind of clarity? Because this is how you measure the sharpness of your watching, your objectivity. you need to be so sharp as to be able to observe the sharpness of your objectivity. Why do you want to be so sharp? Because I already told you, the end game is not knowing the mind. The end game is getting the mind to shut down, the energy of craving to drop. To get to a point where the mind knows how to get the energy to drop, it has to be this sharp. In fact, it has to be sharper. You have to be able to see to a point where the mind flips, you know, mind flip. It's that level of clarity and sharpness. You understand what I'm saying, right? So that's why all this emphasis about watching the mind, observe how it works, see how it rises and fall away, see until you know what's there and what is not there. All this is all preliminary. This is all preliminary work. Yes. And I'm not inventing it. This is in the suttas. It's all preliminary work. You say, wow, say so difficult. Yeah, it is. The difficulty, look, it's centuries, thousands and millennium of years. Millenniums of years of clinging. Millenniums of years. You're trying to get it done this life. Huh? Because this life you got Dhamma. You still have Dhamma. How to do it? So you have to watch until the mind can see as it is. And it is very important that under normal circumstances, you must know how to let go. Let go. What's the time now?
10:25.
Okay, I read to you very quickly the Book of Seven. The one that I said I will teach one day, right? I'll just read to you very quickly what I mean by it's very, very important. It's a very important sutta, okay? There are 7 perceptions, Book of Seven. There are 7 perceptions when developed and cultivated are of great fruit and benefit, culminating in the deathless. What 7? The perception of unattractiveness, the perception of death, the perception of the repulsiveness of food, the perception of delight, non-delight in the entire world, the perception of impermanence, the perception of suffering in the impermanent, the perception of non-self in what is suffering. These 7 perceptions, when developed and cultivated, are of great fruit and benefit, culminating in the deathless, having the deathless as their consummation. In just this stanza, what does it tell you? It tells you that in daily life, you remind yourself of a different way of looking at your life. Why do you keep wanting to have? So there are 2 things you're doing. Earlier on, I keep saying you got to prepare the mind to a certain degree of sharpness and resolution of seeing. You have to keep getting the mind to that level of sharpness and resolution of seeing. To get there is step 1. Must be done. The second thing is, I said, what must it see, right? It must see these things. These 7 things. Why must it see these 7 things? It says, the Buddha says, if you can see these 7 things, it will lead to the culmination in the deathless. Meaning to say, you will see, you will realize Nibbana. Then you go into the 7th thing and you realize that I will sum it up for you here. What the 7th thing does to you is that it does 2 things. It leads you to let go of craving, and it leads craving for sensual delight, and it leads you to let go of the I. These 2 things, you do this 7 perception. You do this 7 perception, it will lead you to let go of craving for sensual delights and let go of the I. It's back to what I kept saying. Is the Dhamma clear? At the very least, if the Dhamma is clear, right? If this is the path, I mean, this is how you understand, and that is the path. If you can see this, you know what to do for yourself. You know what to do for yourself. Tough? but at least you know the direction to go. Okay?